Very warm welcome to the new episode of Ink and Insights. This is your host, Sumit Sharma Samir. This is a Nepal based podcast, and if you are interested in listening to the thought leaders from around the world, please subscribe to my channel. I'm extremely pleased to welcome Sidra Sheikh in my program today. Sidra is a Pakistani author best known for her novel The Light Blue Jumper that was published in 2017 by Mongrel Books in Karachi. The book has maintained a presence on the bestseller list. Residing in Lahore, Pakistan, Sidra holds a Bachelor of Science degree from the London School of Economics and serves on the board of governors of the Gulab Devi Hospital. In addition to her writing, she is a lawyer. Sidra, I first welcomed Faika Mansab in my program, followed by Abbas Khan, Sara Naveed, and now you. I'm extremely delighted to welcome in my platform. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much. I'm delighted to be in such good company. Faika, Aware, Sara, they're all great friends and wonderful writers. So I'm so glad to be part of the crew that you're interviewing.
Right. Sidra, welcome to the Ink and Insights with Sumit Sharma Samir. Before we talk about your literary work, please tell us about your writing journey and tell us what drew you to this profession.
So I've been writing since I was very little. I think I remember writing poetry when I was 8, 9, um, 10. In fact, recently my mom at my birthday is in December, so last December she put together a little booklet of all my poems that I'd written as a child, and they were typed up and bound together. I mean, only a mom can do that, right? Save them and then present them. And so I realized I have been writing for a long time. I just uh, put it aside for economics and then law, and then got busy with other things. It's it's funny when you look back and you think of how easy it is to shelve your childhood dreams when you think they don't align with whatever life path you plan for yourself. But then you always seem to come back to what you're really meant to do. So for me, this was like a realization that hit me once I had my daughter. When I had my firstborn, I actually got back on legal work. And that's when I just realized that there was something that I really wanted to do. And that was to sit down and write something, a long form, like a novel. And it just came together, over about a year, and it was all consistent small periods of writing that led to it. It was since I was a new mom and I had my other work going on as well. I only had a couple of hours, like I had an hour, maybe two max in the day, which I could set aside. But I think it works. If you can just do it consistently, it seems to work.
Yeah, and it's very interesting to kind of find out that you wear multiple hats. You are a lawyer, and also you write, and it's sort of interesting that you have interest both in the field of legal field as well as in the literature. How does these two field come together? Does any of these influence any of your work?
I think it does to an extent. I think the skills that you require across both fields are similar in some ways. Although on the surface it seems like they're totally different. I'm writing science fiction and fantasy, all based on imagination and things. But there's also a great deal of organization that goes into it when you're sort of doing all the characters. And in the light blue jumper, there's a lot of povs, so I've done maybe 8 or 10 characters, and to get a grip on that and keep it together, I feel like the legal training really helped, because it was it had to be organized really well to the nth degree, and the discipline as well, because in the legal field it's all about pressure, deadlines, disciplines. So I think all of that helped.
Yeah, so your first work, The Light Blue Jumper, was published, I guess, on 2017. Can you please shed some light on what this book is all about?
It's a humorous sci-fi novel, and it's sort of light science fiction, more like a space opera, and it's in the grand tradition of Douglas Adams. It's something that, although it's got universal themes, but there are a lot of hints in it to its origins in Pakistan. I feel like it's something that I really wanted to read, and it's one of those things that if you really want to read something, you should sit down and write it. It came about like that because I'm a big science fiction fan, and I read a lot of fantasy as well. So when I started writing, this little blue alien came into my mind, who's the main
Interesting.
protagonist in the book. He was the first character that I thought of, and then it just came together all around him. The ensemble of other characters, and when I was writing, it just revealed itself to me that this had to be something funny because there were so many characters, and all of them thought that they were the main character, and
Right.
nothing could happen without them, as we all tend to think in our lives that we are the main characters of whatever we're doing, and everything depends on us. So in this, all of them have this grandiose sort of view of their role, even though they may be minor characters, and the reader can tell. But then that's where the comedy comes from, that they're all so self-important, and they're
Right.
all trying to do everything at the same time.
Right, right, and I'm not sure the the kind of perception that a lot of people have towards this science fiction, particularly in Pakistan. What was the reception like when the book came out, and then did you feel that it's going to sort of be taken positively and been it's been in the bestseller list for a long time now? How did you feel now about the whole thing?
When it came out initially, I didn't know what to expect. I hadn't even thought about it. I hadn't thought about what the reception would be. I was just so excited about being able to share it with the readers. It was a pleasant surprise to see how many people were able to connect with it. Not just college students and teens and people who would normally be reading science fiction. There
Right,
were a lot of people who were older as well. There were a lot of mothers. There was one reader. She was a young mother in based in the U.S. She had two young kids, and she wrote to me and said that I got so into the book that I was hiding from my kids in order to finish it. So I had this kind of feedback, so it was really encouraging. And
right,
um, on the other end of the spectrum, of course, there were some people who assumed that because it's science fiction, it's only for kids.
right.
And so I had to kind of explain that no, it's not just for kids. It's something that teens can also read, but it's an adult book. So it's something that uses the imagination. It's not necessary that adults are excluded from reading it.
Right, right. So, I mean, it's been 8 years now since the publication of that book. Over the 8 years' time, I mean, the whole perception might have changed, and then people have been pretty receptive about the book, isn't it?
Yes, things have definitely changed. I feel like more people are venturing into areas of writing that were perhaps not as explored in this region, especially in Pakistan or in, say, India or Nepal or like these these sort of regions. We have not had so much of like the usual books that come out of here, and this is a generalization. I know there are exceptions to it, but mostly they tend to be a little bit dark, and they're a little bit issue based or issue driven, or they may be highlighting things in society that are not going right. And while that is very important as well, I feel like it's good to write in a different genre, to appeal to different markets, different age groups, and then the themes are always, of course, universal. Where you are, I mean, even in this book, there are a lot of there are themes of imperialism, colonialism,
Mm,
dispossession, um, apathy, intolerance, things that we all deal with in our daily lives. So they do creep into everything that we write because that's part of our identity.
right,
But I do feel that it's also important to be entertained when you're reading. It's important to be for there to be layers, so you can, if you want, you can just take it at face value and think of it as a space romp. And if you sort of dig a little bit deeper, then there are satirical themes in it, which are political.
Right, right. Sidra, you are both, sci-fi novelist as well as a poet. Have you felt ever a conflict between these two?
Not really. I feel like poetry is so instant and it's so raw that a poem just comes to you when it comes to you. When you feel moved by something, it just pours out of you. And this writing novels is a long term endeavor, and it takes a year, sometimes two, to actually get something in the right form down, and then to edit and re-edit, etc. So it's a much longer process, and it's something that's perhaps a little bit removed from you as a writer. I feel like poetry is just very intense, and it's very instant for me, at least.
Right. And do you write both on English and Urdu or only specifically in English?
I only write in English, which is something I wish that was different. I wish I could be writing in Urdu as well. But I think because of our school systems, there's always a huge emphasis on English as compared to local languages. I can speak Urdu very well, and I can read and write it, but the fluency that's required to actually express myself properly, I don't think I have in Urdu. So that, it's sad for us.
तिमीसँग अब धेरै टाइम छैन है बिहे गर्नु छ भने गरिहाल नत्र घरबाट मलाई अन्तै बिहे गरिदिनु भर्खर 3 वर्ष भयो एमबीबीएस जोइन गरेको 5 वर्षको कोर्स हो के भो अचम्म छ एक्सक्युज मी सर मेरो 5 वर्षको कोर्स 3 वर्षमा सकाउन मिल्दैन
गेट आउट
हेलो के सोच्यो त के सोच्ने मैले प्रिन्सिपलसँग पनि कुरा गरिसके 3 वर्षमा पनि के हुन्छ 3 वर्षमा
के भयो भाइ ल बस साउजी एक कप चिया कसले भन्यो 3 वर्षमा केही हुँदैन भनेर यो हेर एलआईसी नेपालको धनवृष्टि योजनामा 3 वर्षमा पैसा फिर्ता हुन्छ
ए हो र
जीवन बीमाको साथमा धनवृष्टि 3 वर्षमा एलआईसी नेपालको धनवृष्टि योजना एलआईसी नेपाल
My listeners would love to, hear some of the poems. So could you please recite a few lines from your poem for us?
Sure. I have something that was published in the Alif Review. It's a poem called "No One Likes You," and this was something I'd written in the lead up to the Aurat March a few years ago.
Right.
So there's a lot of feminine rage in there. And I'll just read a couple of stanzas.
Yeah.
No one likes you. No one likes women who think too much, he said. So I gave him a piece of my mind. The beast took it, saying, "You are too kind." But as evening fell, he was back again. No one likes women who talk too much, he said. So I gave him a piece of my tongue. The beast ate it and asked for the rest. Come back another day, I said. Apparently, tongues are hard to digest. It didn't take him long. No one likes women who are too strong, he said. So I gave him my right arm. The beast broke it and smiled. Charmed. There's one on the left as well. Could you be a dear and save me a trip? So I obliged. And while you're at it, I'll have the rest of that tongue, shall I? It was the least I could do. Such pretty manners and a bearing so wise. I gave him what was left, and he said goodbye. Soon he returned. No one likes women who stand up for themselves, he said. So I gave him a leg, but he sat back down, waiting for more. Take what you will, I told him at last. The beast took the other and headed for the door. One last time I have come. Do not deny me. No one likes women who feel too much, he said. So I ripped out my heart and handed it right over. The beast devoured it, purring and prancing with delight. No one likes you. You have arrived, the ideal woman, except for your eyes. if I could just take away this burden of sight, you would be born again, a woman done right. You could hold your head high, be proud of who you are, and tell everyone. No one approves. No one was an ally I wanted on my side. Everyone had let me down enough. Everyone was false, but no one I could trust. I gave him my sight and, feeling generous, offered up my hearing as well. But he didn't have any use for my ears. I should keep them, he said. I rejoiced in my good fortune a while. I couldn't walk or speak or smile, but I was happy, I was liked. The beast told me I was. I couldn't think either, you see. But he wasn't entirely unfeeling or cold. He left me my ears so I could listen and do as I was told.
Wow. Wow. This is really powerful, Sidra. It's kind of lit up
Yeah.
a lot of energy. I mean, the situation in most of the countries in South Asia is similar to that of Pakistan as well. I mean, as you rightly pointed out, that we cannot generalize because the context of society differs. But how does it feel like to be author in Pakistan, and how difficult it is to get published in Pakistan these days?
It's been tough. Initially, Pakistani authors would look to India to get published, and they would sign up with Indian publishing houses, and then the books would come over here to the bookstores. Since there's been an import ban on Indian books, so Pakistani authors have had to rely on Pakistani publishers more, and very few are being published in India now. So with that, there's a huge dearth of Pakistani publishers. There are some new ones that have come up over the years, over the last couple of years since this happened. They're all small indie presses, and they're all trying to make a mark and make a difference. And I feel like it's the right way forward, but it will take time because they don't have the kind of reach that you need. I mean, they may be able to do a bit with placing books here in bookstores, but then you need more. You need a wider audience, and to be able to send your books across, say to India or to Nepal or Bangladesh, or you need to at least have this region covered. That right now is not happening. For Pakistani publishers are not established enough as yet. I mean, it will take time. There is a movement to set up more and more publishing houses, and a lot of women are leading this, which is a great thing. Even I was published by Mongrel Books in 2017. That was ahead of its time because India was still an option. And this was set up by Shandana Minhas, who is an acclaimed writer herself. And this was something great. And it was an indie press that was committed to bringing quality fiction and different fiction to readers in Pakistan. But I think it would be the way forward to have more investment, more of a commitment and a drive to actually increase the reach of the publishing houses here. You can get published. I mean, there's Liberty Publishing, there's Reverie, there's Zuka Books, there's a couple of others. You can get published, but then once you're published, you need to be read as well. And that is where there's an issue.
Right, right. And, I also have felt that, there's a lot of scope in places like India, where the market is huge, and there's a lot of interaction that takes place between authors and the publication houses. There's a lot of space wherein we could market our books out there, but kind of, even Nepali authors are kind of have to find their niche in the Nepali market itself, and then Nepali books is less marketed in the Indian publishing scene. So I think there could be some ways wherein at least South Asian countries could come together to sort of help authors from South Asia so that they can read the literature from each of their countries, right? So that could help also the literature. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, I think even festivals and cultural exchanges really help with that, with raising visibility for writers from across different countries, where you become aware of what other work is happening and what you can read.
Exactly, exactly. And do you have any specific writing routine or timings?
I do actually. I feel like I write well in the morning, and that's my preferred writing time. Is first thing in the morning, because once I send the kids off to school, once I've dropped them, then I come home and I sort of sit down in my study, and I have 2 to 3 hours set aside for just writing at that time. I feel like if I miss that window, then it doesn't really happen. Then the day catches up with me, and then I'm just busy, and then I don't have the headspace to actually organize my thoughts and get them down on paper. So morning is my time.
Right. And Lahore, I mean, I have not been there, but we have come to understand about it as a very vibrant space. What role do you think does Lahore play in your creative process?
Hmm. So I think Lahore is a cultural center, and it is. I mean, we just had the literary fest. We have had a couple of literary festivals recently in February, um, and it's bustling with people who are writing and reading. It's a great atmosphere, and even like since I wrote the book, I've been visiting different colleges and schools and talking about my book and reading in general and writing, and there's so much interest. So I feel like it does help to be surrounded with this sort of community. Uh, i i do one thing that I miss though, which I feel that writers abroad probably have much better access to, is writing groups. We don't have that kind of culture here. I don't know how it is in Nepal, but here it's a little hard to find. Where writers abroad usually have a writing community where they can exchange drafts and get comments and share their work with each other. So that will take some time to build, I think, over here.
Are there any particular authors or books that have significantly influenced your writing?
Hmm. So many over the years, but I feel like my recent favorites, I read a lot of fantasy. So I would say my recent favorites are Tahir Mafi, who's written This Woven Kingdom. It's a series that is ongoing right now, and it's Eastern fantasy. So it's all about jinns and flying carpets and things. It's really fantastic. And then there's another book, another series, which is based on Russian folklore, which is also fantasy. It's called The Bear and the Nightingale. It's by Catherine Arden. I absolutely love that as well, because anything that's steeped in folklore and mythology, I just really, really enjoy. So these are things that kind of influence um, how I like to approach my writing as well, to like base it in something um, local, something that you can connect with, and then build it up from there.
Right. Do you have any particular specific interest on any themes that you'd like to develop in your works in future?
I think whatever I write, the themes of freedom and anti-imperialism will always be a part of whatever I write, because I think these are part of our blood. Colonized people, and to decolonize ourselves is very important. So I think those themes will always continue in one form or another in whatever I write.
Right. And how do the Sidra as a writer handle feedback and criticism for your work?
So I think gentle criticism is always preferred to brutal honesty. I don't know about other writers, but I find that's a lot more palatable if people first start with a compliment and then go towards the criticism. It's easier
Right.
to handle. But
True.
I think you do have to have a thick skin though, and you do develop it over time. Initially, it's horrifying if somebody doesn't like your work. You take it very personally. You think, oh my God, they don't. I mean, it's almost as if they've dismissed you as a person. But then you learn to separate your work from your person, and you learn that the art and the artist are not the same. And once you start making that distinction, it's a lot easier. to handle the fact that not everyone is going to like your work, and that's fine. And that's
Right.
something actually that is probably a good thing, because if your work is palatable to everybody, then maybe there's not enough individualism in it. Maybe it's not unique enough. It's something, if it's authentic, I think the only important thing to me is that I'm writing something authentic that comes straight from the heart. That's something that is not being tweaked to kind of cater to any particular reading sort of public, or it's not following any sort of trends or something that is expected. As long as it's pure, I'm happy with it. Then it may be received how it may.
Right, right. And ultimately, you don't write for, society's pleasure. You write for what you think is good from your heart, right? What you really
Exactly.
feel about it. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
can you tell us?
Hmm.
Sorry, Sidra.
I was saying you're ultimately writing for yourself.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, please share some of the details of your future works, if it's anything coming out
So
our way.
I have a sequel coming out to the Light Blue Jumper. It's the second part, and
Wow.
it's called A Shade Darker, and it's
Right.
going to be out in April, inshallah, in Pakistan. That is since I left the Light Blue Jumper on a cliffhanger, and I had no idea that I would make readers wait 7 years until I published the sequel. But there you have it. So the sequel is going to be out, and I have two works of fantasy that are sort of interconnected, set in the same world, which are
Right.
also ready, along with a historical that I am currently querying at the moment. So that is something that is totally different to what I've been writing so far. But I really enjoy changing lanes and switching it up a bit, because I feel like it just keeps things interesting.
Right. Right. And Shida, perhaps my last question to you for today's program is, how do you engage with your readers, and what has been the most memorable interaction so far?
I think most of the interactions are online, where people leave reviews, they send messages. I feel like there've been a number of reader messages that have really touched my heart and made me glad that I've written this book. There was one that I told you about, the mother who wrote to me, who was based in the US. Then there were others who wrote to me telling me that this book gave them a sense of hope, and it was uplifting, and it had some joy in it for them. And that's something that really really touched me, because if we can give people even a little bit of joy to add to their daily lives, I mean, I feel like that's, my work is done. So having that acknowledged, and having people reach out and say that they felt that this is a book of hope, even though there are themes in it that are troubling, and there are things that we all deal with in our own way, but it's a message of hope for people, that we can overcome things. I mean, in this we have a protagonist who is a very reluctant hero, who is also a very unlikely hero, who manages to lead the way. So in that, I mean, the message is that anyone can. It's just about having the will.
Exactly, exactly. And hope is what binds us together, Sidra.
Absolutely.
And we'd like to wish you all the best for your future work that's coming out in April, and some of the other works as well that you are working on right now. And I'd like to thank you once again for your time. I mean, we are really happy that you decided to be a part of my show. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed this conversation. It's been great to have this interaction with you. And I hope to discuss whenever my new book comes out. I would love to discuss that with you as well later, inshallah, after
Sure.
April.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sunil. Thank you. Lovely talking to you.